I personally really loved Henry Cavill as Superman, but I didn't love the Snyderverse version of Superman, if you know what I mean. So they had the right actor doing the right performance. They didn't have the right movies or the right writing for that character. Welcome to Mythos in Media, I'm Carlos, and I'm here to review your favorite movies, TV shows, video games, and anime from the perspective of a published author. Today, however, we have something different. We're going to be reviewing a movie trailer, but not just any trailer, the Superman 2025 trailer, which is supposed to kick off the new DC universe, even though technically that honor goes to Creature Commandos on Max, which is actually really good. You should definitely go watch that. But I wanted to review this trailer because, well, first of all, everybody's talking about this right now, so forgive me for doing a little bit of clout chasing. My channel is fairly new and it could really benefit from it, but I was going to talk about this anyway at some point, so get off my back. I just wanted to give you a quick reminder to please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, leave your comments, let me know what you think. I love to interact with you guys, so anything you have to say, leave it in the comments and I'll be more than happy to reply. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Based on my decorations and my shirt, you can kind of guess that I'm more of a Batman fan than a Superman fan, but that doesn't mean that I don't like Superman. And in fact, for me, one of the most iconic aspects of the comics and of the animated series and all of this other media that's come out about these two characters is the way in which these two opposites kind of compensate each other. I've always loved how, despite Batman's darkness and Superman's kind of Boy Scoutish nature, they complement each other and they're actually very good friends. And even when they go against each other, you kind of see that shine, that difference, and you feel that dynamic between them that is so rich. Now, I'm going to get into some very rocky terrain here and say that I know that there's a lot of people out there who loved the Snyderverse for what it was, who loved Henry Cavill's performance as Superman. Okay, so first of all, I personally really loved Henry Cavill as Superman, but I didn't love the Snyderverse version of Superman, if you know what I mean. So they had the right actor doing the right performance. They didn't have the right movies or the right writing for that character. Because when it came to Batman and Superman, I didn't actually get that dichotomy. I didn't get those two opposites. They were very similar in many aspects. Hell, even about the fact that they both killed people in their movies. I'm not here to tell you that it's wrong to like Snyder's movies or that it's wrong to like the Snyderverse. I mean, it's perfectly fine. It's definitely Snyder's take on the character. But for me, at least, it didn't work. Because even though one can justify it by saying, yes, that was Snyder's take and it's based on very specific arcs from the comic, the problem is that it felt a little like having the punchline without the setup. Let me kind of explain what I mean by that. Let's take Injustice, for example, which is one of the arcs that inspired Snyder when it came to the DCEU. One of the things about Injustice that made it so impactful was the fact that we were seeing a Superman that honestly just didn't give a f*** anymore. He just said, you know what, if you do crime, I'm going to kill you, period. That was it. That was Superman just throwing away his Boy Scout persona and becoming a fascist, a dictator, a monster in many ways. And not just that, but having other heroes side with him in this fascist regime. And opposite him was Batman. So I personally really liked the storyline. I liked that arc, but that's what people don't seem to understand. It was an arc. It was actually supposed to shake you. Having Superman kill the Joker and telling Batman that that was what he should have done so many years ago because he would have saved so many lives if he had just killed the Joker was an amazing take on the character. But it only works because of everything that came before. The only reason edgy, dark Superman works is because of all the light and positivity and optimism that came before. If you set up a character that is usually very positive, very focused on justice, very focused on the small folk, on saving people, on being just a down-to-earth guy despite the fact that you're an alien, the moment that you flip that on its head and it turns into this really dark and violent character, that's going to have an impact. The problem was that Snyder didn't have that. Snyder didn't do that setup. Snyder had Man of Steel, which for me was a moderate success because I didn't feel it represented the character accurately. It still had a very dark Superman with a very dark backstory when it came to his father and the teachings of his father, which honestly didn't sit right with me for that particular character. It just took Superman into the darkness very quickly. And then it came to Batman vs. Superman, which again took it into a very dark place very quickly. So it never really felt cohesive. It never really felt earned. You have to earn those moments. And by Snyder doing that, again, it felt like doing the punchline without the setup. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Snyder. I just wanted to get that out of the way and explain why this trailer was so amazing for me. So Superman 2025 stars David Corenswet as Clark Kent and Superman, and in the trailer we see him as, both characters, and you can clearly see a difference between both. You can actually get why people would not be able to see Superman when they're looking at Clark Kent, like watching him get into the Daily Planet with his hair all messed up, because remember, even though he can fly, he's Clark Kent. He needs to behave like a regular human. So he probably had to walk, take public transportation, deal with traffic, deal with crowds to get to the office. So for me, that was amazing to see, especially when you get to the moment in which you see him indoors and you see Lois just kind of walk by and look at him and he turns around. That look that you see in his face is so dopey that it just felt perfectly Clark. Now, when it comes to Rachel Brosnahan as Lois, even though we didn't get to see so much of her in the teaser, what I saw, I actually liked. She felt like that very peppy, professional, very go-getter kind of Lois that we all love. And I think this is going to be a very cool dynamic between these two characters. You can already see the chemistry between both, because if you have a Superman movie and there's no actual chemistry between the two characters, just again, and not meaning to shade on the Snyderverse, but here it does seem like it's going to work. Again, this is a teaser. We don't get so much from the two characters, just enough for us to see the relationship. We also get to see Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. That was a surprise for me. I hadn't even heard about the casting of him in this role, but when I saw him, it just clicked. And one of the things about Hoult is that he's able to play, on the one hand, very comedic characters, but he's also able to play very intense, serious, dramatic characters. And I think he has the right gravitas to bring Lex Luthor to life. And again, I don't mean to shade on the Snyderverse, but pretty much anything would be better than this, right? You also get to see Clark with his dad, and let me just say, Pa Kent, he just looks adorable, and that chemistry between them, just in those very few seconds of screen, looks beautiful. It definitely doesn't look like Pa Kent is about to tell him to let a bunch of kids die. Yeah, let's move on from this. You see this huge kaiju, this huge monster attacking Metropolis, and you see Superman fighting him, and most importantly, you see Superman saving this little girl. I'll get into this particular scene a little bit later because I think it's incredibly important. Same as this other scene of the little kid raising the flag and calling for Superman. Those two scenes, for me, were the most effective of the entire teaser because they communicate something very important about Superman that I'll cover a little bit later. But for me, those were the ones that touched my heart. I really felt it. We also see some other characters in the trailer, particularly Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner. This is Green Lantern, and personally I thought this was a genius choice because it's kind of like a Green Lantern that very few people outside of people who actually read the comics know. And it's a character that hasn't really been explored before, at least I don't think so, because this is kind of like a pretty jerky kind of Green Lantern to have. So it's definitely a choice, and it's definitely very intentional, and I can't wait to see what James Gunn is doing with this character. We also see Hawk Girl for a moment, played by Isabella Merced, and even though we don't really get much out of the character except for that one scene, we start seeing a pattern, which is that she's wearing the same uniform that Green Lantern is wearing, so they probably belong to the same team. And going on that tangent, we also see Mr. Terrific, who is also wearing that same uniform and whom James Gunn said is going to have a very important role in the movie. One of the important things to keep in mind here, even though we're getting all of these cameos, is that one of the intentions that James Gunn said he had for this movie was to establish that this is a universe that already exists. So there are going to be other superheroes in it, but they are part of the universe that Superman is going to inhabit. So he is there, and it's his movie, and he's going to be the focus, but these are characters that are being established as part of that universe. And there's another character in the trailer that I haven't really seen many people talking about, but for me is probably the most exciting part of it, and that's the engineer, played by Maria Gabriela de Farias. Most likely this character is probably just gonna have like a cameo or something, but for me it's so important because it establishes my favorite super team in the entire DC universe, and we're actually getting a movie for them. They're called The Authority, and this is where I kind of understand why people didn't even acknowledge this character in the trailer, because very few people are actually familiar with The Authority. And these are characters that are kind of like the Justice League, but with, let's say, almost worldwide or dimension-altering powers. And these are characters that have no limitations when it comes to what they will do. Unlike the Justice League, they will kill, they will destroy countries, they will destroy governments, they will destroy planets, anything when it comes to reaching their goals. So they're heroes in a way, but they're very controversial heroes. And the cool thing about the fact that James Gunn is producing a movie of The Authority is because even though I'm not sure that he's going to direct the movie, I think he's going to produce it only. If he manages to do with The Authority what he did with the Guardians of the Galaxy, I will be the happiest person in the entire world, because The Authority are an amazing super team. They're incredible. And the engineer, Angela Spica, she is probably my favorite character in the entire series. She's amazing and she's incredibly powerful. So look forward to that. Now let's talk about hope, because you're going to hear that word thrown around quite a bit after that trailer. And I kind of have to explain it because it's not easy to explain. Because when you look at this trailer, if you look at it through a cynical eye, if you look at it just superficially, you won't understand why people are saying that that trailer gave them hope. I mean, this is just a movie trailer. It could end up being a movie that comes out and bombs and nobody liked and it was just a complete failure. It could happen. It has happened before. But the reason why people say that this movie gives them hope is because that is what Superman has always stood for. Hope. Superman has always been this character that is, yes, godlike, but always stood for the little people. He's the character that is a symbol that people can be better, because he's this alien, the last survivor of his race. Well, as far as he knows at this point in the story, and he's trying to assimilate as one of us, he's trying to be one of us, and he's trying to portray the things that he feels are the best that humanity can give, because those are the things that he got from his parents. So when you see Superman doing things like in the middle of this humongous fight, just stop to save this one little girl, that stands out for your audience. That gives them hope, because we didn't really see that when we saw the previous incarnation of Superman. Yes, we saw Superman saving people, saving cities, all of these things, but it kind of felt detached. It felt kind of like this is this godlike being that people are worshiping because he's a savior. And that's not Superman. Superman is the godlike being that is ultimately just a farmer's son, and he just wants to be a humble, simple guy with a normal life. That is Superman. And when we see things like, for example, in Man of Steel, which is probably what disconnected me the most from the character, when we see him having this enormous fight with Zod in the middle of Metropolis, where thousands and thousands of people die. I mean, just by looking at the destruction, and you don't see him kind of stop to try to save one person here, one person there. You just get the entire destruction because he's just focused on the macro picture. And this is important. This is where I wanted to get with this. And there's this thing that happens when you actually look at the stakes of a situation in a movie, in a book, in any story. So when they tell you they're going to destroy the world, the stakes are high, they're going to destroy the world. But you don't actually feel it, because if the whole world is destroyed and you're part of the world, who cares? You're not going to even know it because you're going to go away with the rest of the world. But if you see the world and then they focus on this very tiny group of characters, or on this person, this little girl, or this little boy that's raising the flag in the trailer, then you care. Because you're taking this global thing and taking it down to this one individual that you don't want to see hurt. So that is why this trailer is seen as something hopeful. First of all, it is very colorful. It takes away that very dark desaturation that we were getting before, and it's actually giving you shiny colors, daylight, actual things that make us feel hopeful. And when you see Superman save this girl, when you see this boy raising the flag, calling for Superman, that gives you hope, because it shows you that this incarnation of Superman doesn't just care about the huge interdimensional creature that is invading our world and might destroy it. This Superman cares about this one little person. And that is what matters most. And if you ask me, in today's world, we do need a little hope. We're getting a little hopeless. We're getting a little bit cynical. And this is a way to pull us back. I've seen a lot of people online saying things like, the people that actually want Superman to be this optimistic and happy and hopeful, those are people that are stuck in the golden age. Those are people that are stuck in the past. No, actually, man, you're stuck in the past. You're stuck in the Superman from the DCEU that wanted to be dark and edgy. This is the new Superman. Time for you to actually go like, okay, I really loved this. This was nice. This was the thing that I wanted, but now that's gone. Here's a new thing. Let's see how it goes. That is actually thinking forward, not getting stuck in the past. Because if you actually look at the stories that Snyder was adapting, those are stories that are by now fairly old. So yeah, that's not an argument. And yes, that is me giving up the notion that I'm not criticizing Snyder when I obviously am. If you like his movies, that's perfectly fine. I personally don't. He has an amazing visual style. He has an amazing way of actually giving you these beautiful panel-like things that make the characters look like floating gods in the middle of destruction and chaos. Yeah, he does have that talent, but that's just a look. That's an aesthetic. It's shallow. There's no depth to that. When you see people online reacting to this teaser, they look happy. Some people cry. They have big smiles on their faces. And some people just keep saying, he's back, he's back, he's back. And the reason for that is because they felt that the character that we actually know as Superman from the comics, not something just from the Golden Age, but the character that has existed for decades and decades and decades, save for a few little arcs. That character has been gone forever. And people want that character back. And people want hope and optimism back. Because we feel that that has been taken from our lives a lot. And we want this one character to symbolize what he was always meant to symbolize. Hope and peace and the potential goodness in all of us. That's what Superman actually stands for. And of course, I'm saving this for last because I would be doing a great disservice to this trailer if I didn't mention the goodest boy. Oh, he's just like the goodest boy ever, and I love him. Look at him. Yes, I love Crypto. I didn't know that I was going to love Crypto. At first, I was like, I don't know. I don't know how well Crypto is going to translate to a movie. But then, for a moment I saw him, I was like, oh my god, look at him! Look at him! He's so cute! Look at that ear! Oh my god, the ear stays up the whole time and I love him! I want a dog. So yeah, even though I'm a Batman fan, I do love Superman, and this trailer in particular really made me look forward to this movie. You can bet I'm gonna be on that theater watching this, and I really hope it's good. Again, none of us can predict the future. It might suck. It has happened to other movies with awesome teaser trailers, but I really hope this is good. It's looking amazing. It's really lifting the spirits of pretty much everybody who's watched it. And for the people who are still kind of stuck on the Snyderverse, all I say to you is, yes, man, it's completely valid for you to like those movies. It's completely valid for you to like that take on the character. Nobody should be telling you, no, you shouldn't like this. I have my own opinions about his interpretation of Superman, but if you like it, that's totally fine. All I'm telling you is, okay, that ended. Snyder isn't coming back to DC. Henry Cavill isn't coming back to DC unless maybe doing a cameo in some movie about 4 movies down the line. Maybe, but they're not coming back. So if you really love the character, if you've really read the Superman comics, and you know what this character stands for, if this character means anything to you, you should give this movie a chance. Because what we're seeing here, at least the images that this teaser is showing us, align perfectly with the character that exists in the comic. So being consistent would mean that if you like the character from the comics, this should speak to you, at least enough to give it a chance. Just one final reminder before I go: like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, leave me your comments. I love to interact with you guys. And if we have any takeaway from this trailer is, come on guys, let's have some hope for the future. We really need it right now. Thank you.